In this video, I'm going to show you how I painted and converted my iron hands. A couple of disclaimers. One, these iron hands are for 30k, but you could use this tutorial for 40k as well. And two, this isn't for golden demon painting, this is for speed painting. So you can get your dudes done quickly and end up with quite a lot like this. First up, conversion bits, or making iron hands look iron handsy. With these craggy type shoulder pads, the servo skulls, the iron hand symbol, and helmets with bug eyes. Also, there's lots of these wiry things hanging down some of their backs, like they plug into sockets or something. I got a chunk of conversion pieces here. For example, here's all the little iron hand symbols that you can just glue on the shoulder pads. Different backpacks to attach the attachments to. Here's the googly eyes. Here's the craggy shoulder pads. All of this stuff I got from marchofwar.co.uk. Look. The shields. He hasn't actually updated the craggly things more. I wonder if he's actually put all the things. No, this isn't all the things I used. There's some bionic arms and legs. There's the things. They're all in here. They're all in here somewhere. So I got all the bits from James, including the resin bases. And when you stick them together, they look like this. This fella's just got some shoulder pads and the decal on the shoulder. This one's a bit more blinged out with the googly eyes and the stuff and things and the different pack. And these are the miniatures we're going to paint with today. Speed paint. And we start with Chaos Black. Now, before starting any of the things, when you start a new legion, check in the hallowed tome. And the colours of the Iron Tent are gunmetal and chrome. What I didn't notice is their eyes are always blue. And when I started painting all of these, I did all the eyes red. Then after a friend pointed out the eyes are blue, I went back and painted them all blue. Anyway, gunmetal, it's important. They're not a flat black. So they're supposed to have a little bit of shine. And very little bling. They're supposed to be functional, which honestly speeds up the whole process and makes them perfect for speed painting. There is one more thing that will help you get away with speed painting as well, that's having really cool bases. For example, my Necrons are speed painted, but you put them on really cool bases, you get away with a lot of stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to do the basing in this video. I'm going to do a whole separate video on basing because I keep getting asked about it. This is about the painting process. Let's start painting. So after we spray them black, we're going to dry brush them lead belcher. For dry brushing, you want to get some brushes like this, which you can pick up in a makeup section of your local supermarket. A pack like that, it's like a £5, they're cheap. Get some paint out, blob it off, wipe the paint, get the excess moisture off like that, simple, and then drag it over the mini. Don't worry if you put it on a little bit too heavy in places, we'll sort it out. But the idea is the underside of an iron hand isn't black. Black is not black. It's a dark silver. It's a gunmetal. You're also dragging this over everything here, including bits that you don't want silver. You're just getting the paint on there at this stage. When you're done, it should look a little bit like this. Most of the miniature covered with a light layer of lead belcher all over. Then using a number 3 brush from Artus Opus, my favourite brush, we're going to pick out the remaining silver bits that are solid silver, such as the craggy bits on their armour around here. And when you're done, shoulder pad will look like that, including a bit underneath the rim like that. We're going to do the metallic bits of the bolt gun like that, and then everything else, that basically the metal bits, we're picking out the metal bits. And it doesn't really matter if you splodge over on top at this stage, because where we're splodging over, we're going to repair. This is the bottom layer, doesn't have to be too precious yet. One of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the messy, grim, dark sort of style, the dry brush and wash technique thing, is because I'm partially blind in one eye. Can't see too good. The right one's really buggered. And if any of you have got like sight problems or shaky hands, find painting, precision painting quite difficult. Not everything needs to be Golden Demon standard. Shaky hands are fine. Washing, highlighting, dry brushing, perfectly legitimate techniques that can really help make your model pop. That, and of course you can get a lot of them done very, very quickly. See, at this stage I'm not too worried about what I'm going over. What gets obliterated, which bits of black get obliterated by the silver. We're going to go back on top of the bits we obliterate. So on this one, on the backpack, did these things, that bit there, we're going to, the metal The metal bits on here we're gonna do as well. The pins on the grenades. But I did make a big obvious mistake. See that line down there? On the shoulder pad, that's no good, and this is a bit too much. So contrast paint goes on really well. You just sort of splodge a bit in there, tone it down a bit, and that'll be fine because this is going to get non-oiled as well. But we'll take that down a bit as well in there. The shoulder pad will be a bit blacker than I would have liked it, but it won't look like a painting error. Anyway, when we're done, we're going to use Castellan Green as a base color for a number of the grays that we're going to do. And this particular model isn't going to need very much, just the bottom of the gun butt there, the handle here on the pistol. And on all the regular backpacks, I've done these wires here in this green as well. But like I say, they're going to be grey. This is just to break up some of the colour palette. But this fella's going to get a lot more. All these pipes and wires and things. And like I said, we're basically using this as a grey primer. This is an undercoat. The finished product will not look green. It's just that Castellan Green is such a forgiving colour. It's really good. Underneath non-oil, it's a good undercoat. For example, in these sorts of areas where it overlaps onto the black at all, I'm not even going to bother repairing that. I'll just leave it as is. And when you stick the non-oil, it doesn't need a clean edge between A and B. It'll be fine. Castellan Green is very forgiving. Other things we've done green are like these wires here around the back of the lights. Then we bust out the Dawnstone Grey. This is going to be a base coat for greys and whites. And we're going to Dawnstone the emblem, the Iron Hands emblem. And the skulls are eventually going to be white, so we're going to Dawnstone the skulls. You should never paint white straight on. You should always put grey underneath whites before you paint whites. I mean, it's like reds and yellows, right? You can't paint a red straight onto a miniature. It needs a white underneath. And you can't paint a white straight onto a miniature. It needs a grey underneath. Why is this the case? I got no idea. Something about colour theory perhaps, but it's science. And when we're done with the greys, then Castellan Greens, this one looks a bit like this, including the gun. Don't worry about overspilling onto some of the blacks and silvers. We'll tidy that up at the end. A bit of green on there, look, Castellan Green. This fella looks like that. Oh, sorry, I've done the grenades green as well, Castellan Green, because it's a nice base colour. Then I just need to do these pouches brown on here. We're going to use Steel Legion Drab. Basically slap it straight on the pouches, no bother. When you're done, it'll look like this. Next, I'm looking at these lenses. They're going to be yellow, but I'm going to use some Zambezi Desert as the base color. Just shove it right up to the corner. Doesn't matter if there's overlap onto the metal because shiny light shine. And then that's done. Then we wait for them to dry, and then we're going to splash non-oil over the whole thing. When using oils, make sure you give them a really good shake before you start to use them. Putting it on everything, not being afraid, just splash it on that bad boy. This will also help cover up many of the mistakes we made or overlapping bits here or there, all the way up the legs, underneath. Lots of non-oil on. And then going over it again and again and again, making sure, while now all the non-oil is on, going over it again and again and again, making sure every single part is covered. Yeah, and I think I'm happy with that. And when you're happy with that, then I'll take some oil off and then drag it back over again. And this will stop some of that excess on camera. This will stop some of the excess, excess pooling that we don't want. And so you can slap it on to begin with and then drag your brush over at the end. Get off the excess strut, see? Nice, quick, easy, done, simple, like it. Yep, then when you're done, just leave it an hour or so to dry, have a cup of tea or something. And that's good, that's lovely, that is. Right, we've all dried off pretty rapidly now. So we need to highlight our silvers, but gunmetal. Remember, these guys, they don't want to be too sharp. So we are going to put a layer of Runefang steel on, which is quite a bright silver. And we're using our number 3 brush again, but we're taking quite a bit off because we're just doing the edges. We're just dragging it over some of the edges here or there, just to give it a bit of pop. You can even do it on the blacks that we've done, like that, around the edges here, like that, but not much more than a little bit of pop around the back. Bit there, bit there, bit there. See these edges at the top of the backpacks? With a little, because it's see, that helps it pop a little bit more down here, down the legs, on this bit. It's okay if you have a, see that bit that I made? That's okay. That looks like a nice chip. Looks like a nice chip, not fish and chips, just a bit of a chip. And when you're done, it should look like that. Remember, we're going for a gunmetal finish, so not too shiny, not too poppy. That's nice. Then I'm getting the brush that I did the dry brush silver with. I'm getting the Dawnstone grey, bit of paint on the brush, and we're going to highlight some of the grey areas now. Now, dry brushing on top of this, get a lot of paint off. Use your thing to get a lot of paint off, and then check using the underside. That's nice. That's nice. So there's just a very thin layer coming off. And then these green bits here, we're going to do this. And we're not picking out all the details. The bits that get missed from the highlighting process are good. They're going to provide shadows. We can also do a bit on the skull, because the skull is going to go back to white in a minute. We're going to do the gun, and because it's such a light bit, it doesn't matter if some of the dusting process gets on top of the black or the silver that you've done, because you won't even notice. So you can just slap it back on all of the areas that you want to be grey. You don't have to worry about it too much. The grey Dawnstone, very forgiving, particularly on top of black. Around here on the grenades, on the green stuff there, because on the grenade I'm going to make them pop a little bit more with a green, and again I'm going to get a lot of that green off so it's quite light. And this is called wet brushing, where it's almost like dry brushing, but you're just putting a tiny bit on here or there. See, almost like dry brushing, but with a bit of a heavier layer. If you get any on your pins, any green on the grenade pins, then you can always get your silver and then pull that edge back up again like that. Okay, some white scar. So we're going to get a bit of white scar. We're going to splat this on our Iron Hands logo, but be a bit nervous with it, to be fair. So happy with that. And then get a bit more white, put it on the gun again, make the gun pop a little bit. Just the top parts of the gun, give them a bit of white on top of the grey. White on top of grey is a lovely, lovely thing. When you're done, it will look like that. I want this thing silver, so literally going to put a blob of the Runefang steel. Is this Runefang steel? Yeah, a little blob of Runefang steel on that thing. Then as for the skulls, they're an awful colour to paint, so this is a white with a little bit of water mix, and we're going to do 2 layers on the skulls. First layer, we're just going to drag it on and not really worry about the finished thing. So when you've done the first layer, it'll look a little bit messy, but that's fine. And then once it's dry, we'll go over the higher edges and sharpen up a bit, like that. And then down the front a bit. And then I'm not worried about getting underneath and round and in the bits that I did the first time round, because having a 2-toned white on a skull is fine. It's not going to be shiny, shiny. Okay, then on the lenses, we're going to make them pop a little bit with some yellow. I'm literally blobbing it on there, making sure we don't go all the way to the edges. So you got the shadowed effect. When you're done, it's going to look like this. Well, I forgot. If you want to highlight up these browns here, the best way to highlight up the browns on the iron hands is to dry brush Dawnstone again. We're going through a grim dark look here, so a little bit of dry brush on your browns with a grey gives that grim dark look and makes the brown, sorry, pop a little bit more. Keep knocking the camera. But this fella's pretty much done. Quite happy with him. This fella's pretty much done. Quite happy with him. Just got to do the blue for the eyes. Nice 1-2 effect. We're going to use my cracked blue and paint a rather generous amount on. We don't mind if it overspills onto the metal because the blue is a shining light. It's the light shining through. So if it catches the edge of the metal rims, in fact, I kind of want it catch the edge of those metal rims all the way down. I'm not just painting the thing, you know, it's got that, so if it touches the silver, it's fine, everything's fine. Then once that's dry, we get a light blue, Calgar blue in this case, quite heavily loaded on the brush because I want a dollop in the middle of the eye and a dollop in the middle of the eye like that. And when you're done, it'll look like that. And then this fella, I'm not even going to try and get in there with this. If there was a lens under there, a thing that was raised that I could stick a sticky thing on, I would. But as it stands, I'm happy with that. Just looking at the model there, I forgot I do the wiring green. Always trying to add a little bit of colour, like the yellows and the blues and the things to such a basic model like this, a basic paint scheme. You want a little colour here or there to make it pop. Which is why, for example, this guy's heavily loaded down with pouches. But when I've converted one quite heavily here, no pouches, otherwise the model will look too messy. So just dragging it over the top areas, not too worried about getting the finer details and getting right underneath it, because that provides a natural shadow, just dragging it over the bits that you can get to easily. And then we're done. Happily speed painted a couple of iron hands there. Having a basic colour scheme really helps with the speed painting idea, so you can knock out a bunch of these guys really quickly. The one thing I would say though is if you're painting darker miniatures, you want lighter bases. If you want doing lighter miniatures, you want darker bases, but we're not doing the bases today. That painting tutorial will be up on YouTube, probably by the time you watch this video. If not, coming out in a week. But yeah, lots of different basing that you can do with just plain black miniatures. Hopefully you found that paint tutorial useful, and happy wargaming.